Welcome back to another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is Varum Ayvazian from the Pan-Armenian network state. This is the latest in our kind of a series of episodes about network states, free cities, and new country type of projects, projects that are essentially rethinking the old school nation state framework and bringing forth new ideas. So we welcome Varum to the podcast.
Thanks a lot, Vance, and it's my pleasure to be there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know we're in a bunch of the same groups. Some of Andy J. Starr's groups around, new country founders and network state and this and that. So maybe you could kind of kick us off. I think some people are familiar with the network state movement that I think Balaji is kind of heading up. And does your Pan-Armenian network state kind of fit into that network state framework that Balaji is leading?
Yeah, actually, it's a very bizarre phenomenon, if we can call it that way, because when I established the Pan-Armenian network state, Balaji hadn't even published his book, so I published it. I established, sorry, in 2021, February 2021, and the thing is that I didn't even know that time that there is a network state movement worldwide. I mean, like people in different countries in different parts of the world working on this concept. Uh, excuse me. The problem was that I translated it from the Armenian into English because when I established it, it was primarily an Armenian thing, and the very establishment was Armenian as well. I mean, the name that is title, and then I translated it from Armenian into English, and the founding article of the Pan-Armenian Network State is can be found on the Mirror Spectator magazine, American based, Boston based magazine.
Hmm.
So there it's the title is Network State: The New Armenia Vision, and it is published in on February 24, 2021. So basically, we call it the establishment of the Pan-Armenian Network State. So basically, um, then when non-Armenian people came into the Pan-Armenian network state, we started searching. I mean, on internet, and then we were amazed, impressed, and including me personally, that oh wow, there are a lot of people working on such concepts, and that's how I mean, I personally
And
got
your
into.
your email is at networkstate.io. That is that part of the larger network state organization?
Not at all. Actually, when we established in 2021, we also wanted to buy like a domain, and the the Armenian domain is like is AM, and it was sorry, I'm a bit sick after the Singapore conference that that I was participating, but it the network state.am, which is like the Armenian version, was like I mean sold, and I have no idea who. But just because you don't find it. I mean, but it was sold.
So someone took
So
networkstate.am but not networkstate.io.
yeah, so we saw that there is the network there is an availability of network.io, and then we bought it. And I personally thought that IO is like a futuristic, I mean, kind of futuristic thing. So that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
it will be good. I mean, to get that was that. And if you look more carefully, the names, the user names. I mean, how we call the profile names of our social media is also like I mean very original. Like for example, on Telegram is like network state, on Facebook our network state, on Twitter X is our network state. So basically, all of them were free. I mean, were available that time in 2021. and there was no such a network state. I mean, big attack on digital space that time.
Right. I mean, you should have. Yeah. I mean, I guess you were early to the term. Maybe you should have got the registered trademark or something. But you did. So you did go to the conference in Singapore hosted by Balaji.
Yes, I did participate, and yeah, as I mentioned, I got a bit sick after the trip. But yeah, I mean, when I mean, the Pan-Armenian networks has expanded, and a lot of non-Armenians came in. So we started researching, and then we got in touch with many people outside of the Armenian world, and so that's how I mean we expanded it. That's how I got to know Andrew J. Starr. That's how I mean I got to know Balaji and other people, Vijay Lichka of Liberland, Boris. I mean, a lot of people who are working in the field, right? But one of the most important things that I want to say is that um, um this Pan-Armenian network state was born within the Armenian framework, and it was an original Armenian name. Then it was translated into English. Then it became network state. So this is very interesting. And more importantly is that I know at least some 15, 16 Armenian politicians, people, historians who for at least some 30, 40 years were championing about Armenian network state. So basically within the Armenian world it wasn't something new because as a nation of big diaspora, so we have always been thinking of such a thing, such a infrastructure platform. But when you get into this field and then you realize that there are a lot of people who are working on this type of infrastructure and new social innovation, you definitely get struck by the thought, wow, this is what I need. And that's how I mean I got into the global movement. And one of the pivots that we did was that this year, in the beginning, in January, we started this Network States and New Countries webinar series. And we
Hmm.
have already ran around 9 webinars every month, one webinar each month. And the last one we had on September 30, the last day of September. So basically, that's how also I engage non-Armenian people into this global discussion of the network state phenomena. And also I have done some interviews with there is a US based organization called Loki. So with them doing some interviews in Brussels and also in Singapore. So what I'm trying to say is that now I feel that this network state movement is an ecosystem that is getting born, that is
Yeah.
being born, and there is no such an Armenian or Jewish or I don't know Latin American African thing, in my opinion, because if we want to be successful, and I do believe that we truly want, I think we must have some coordinated action. And I always say this in our webinars, meetings, and discussions. So that's how I see this network state movement. And what Balaji has been doing is amazing. But what I see, and I also gave this feedback to him personally, is that I feel that the political component and the coordinated action is kind of missing within the network state ecosystem. So that's how I would be very happy to work on. I mean, on this, I mean, how to kind of bring, kind of institutionalize the
Yeah.
network
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
Kind of saying
I
this.
think we need to back up and explain what the network state is. I also want to hear about how the conference went, but we should probably start with what is a network state? What are some of the underlying principles for? I guess there's probably a bunch of different organizations using this terminology, but I guess to you, what is a network state?
That's a super interesting question, actually, because according to our Pan-Armenian network state, it was like a Pan-Armenian infrastructure platform where the Armenian diaspora will work with the homeland, like a kind of building a global Armenian establishment. So that was
Uh-huh.
very clear and simple. But when you read Balaji book, and then when you see people working on different projects, so you start, I mean, thinking more thoroughly, I mean, more globally, not
Hmm.
only from the Armenian perspective. So I must insist that there is no clear definition of the network state yet. I must insist on this. Whether Balaji wrote his book and that clearly tries to describe it, whether there are organizations, I mean, clearly trying to describe what they do, etc. I still feel that in the real world, I mean, we haven't seen a clear description, so that like a one sentence thing that people read and understand it. That this is the network state. So, in my opinion, the network state is an evolutionary thing that follows the nation state. I mean, so we had the city states. I mean, we had like the human history. Then we had empires. I mean, these Middle Ages again. These small states fighting each other. Then we got this Westphalian system, nation state,
Uh-huh.
and now. Because of the internet, ICT, and all this tech tech development, the nation state doesn't deliver anymore because the nation state was about actually about strong borders, powerful control, and you cannot control now it anymore because of the change of mindset of people and technology. So that is why the nation state is getting outdated now. And now we are going to see a new phenomenon in human history, which I call a network state. But in order to give a clearer, more clear explanation, I would actually try to recall a friend of mine, Ilya Alexa, who is based in Malta and who is also working on network state
Hmm.
concept. Ilya told me something super interesting, and I want to cite this. So Ilya would basically say that there are three establishments in the world that kind of govern people, if rule people. So, like nation states, governments, elites, multinational corporations, these big corporations, and the religious institutions. I mean, these three currents kind of rule people. And there are people on earth now who do not want to be ruled by these three establishments. And we call these people who do not want to be ruled by the aforementioned three establishments the fourth establishment. So the network staters, I will call them the fourth establishment. Something like, I mean, people who want something new, a more just world. I mean, some people would call them libertarians, some would call them like people who want to avoid taxes or whatever, do not want to pay them. So this type of thing. But I would call them this. Fourth establishment people who are striving to build something new, which we call a network state. Whether it will be like a network state as Balaji describes, or whether it will be like a Liberland-like state, you would never know. Because human history is full of surprises, and we will never know what comes next. But what is important is that these fourth establishment people are working on this, and this is an evolutionary development, and there is nothing to get surprised about because it's a normal process. The nation state is failing because it has become an outdated institution which is not able to deliver the,
Hmm.
uh, the services that it used to. So that's why, I mean, we are seeing people, especially in the West. This is very important. In the postmodern West, if you call it that way, the middle class people, young people, middle aged people who challenge the establishment, these three, the aforementioned three establishments, and they want the new establishment, the fourth establishment, which we can call a network state or whatever. Saying this is that the name is not that important to me, honestly. Most importantly is that the process, the political process, because I consider this is the highest level of politics, because we are building something new, and it's a very long process, and it can even happen that we cannot harvest uh, what we have been doing, but maybe the next generations can get something out of it.
Cool, cool. And I can see how Armenians banding together is important for the Armenian diaspora. I know there's lots of them all over the US and this kind of thing. Why would non Armenians be interested in what you're building?
That's a super interesting question. When non-Armenians came into the Pan-Armenian network state, I was asking the same question to myself. What are they? So, but then I realized that actually it's not just about the Armenian thing, because this is a new social phenomenon. That's why people come and try to see what they can do, how it works. We even established a Pan-Armenian network state business club. So this type of things are kind of trying to connect people, non-Armenians with Armenians doing business, etc. So this is very interesting. And also diplomats came into trying to understand what is it. I mean, government representatives, parliament members, senators, even U.S. senators, French, like I mean, where Armenians have more presence, so they would come. But what I'm trying to say is that now this Pan-Armenian network state is not much about Armenia anymore, because I realized that Armenians as a nation are not ready for this type of phenomenon yet. Because okay, they get excited. Wow, this is something super interesting, whatever. But uh, but I think this needs to get boiled globally in order then to be able to kind of eat that soup. Uh, but the Armenian component is important in terms of the sense of belonging. Like when you think how you're going to build that
Uh-huh.
community is like I mean ethnic connections
And
help.
tangibly, what have you guys built as the Pan Armenian network state?
Yeah.
Did you guys make an app? Can Armenians make a profile and log into something, or is it just like a Telegram group, or like what has actually been built so far?
So when 2021, when I founded it, so we basically kind of built a Slack platform, like Slack, like Slack, like Discord. So there is another platform like Slack. And on Slack we had the communications channels, and also Trello project management tools. So people would come, and we had departments. So we had weekly calls in each department. We had 16, 17 departments, and we actually ran some projects which can be found on our website. Small projects, of course, and even, for example, export of, I mean, Armenian herbal tea to France, Germany, or whatever. This type of even things like Armenians getting together. Or cultural projects. Um, so we did that. Then we, of course, we built all these social media accounts. We post it weekly. We would communicate. We have built a big database. This is, I think, one of the key achievements that we have
Hmm.
have had so far. Is like we have 3,000 plus database of people verified accounts, which includes even some heads of states, government representatives, diplomats, senators, and also, I mean, enthusiasts who are interested in crypto, in decentralized governance, in network states, etc. This is what we have been doing, and we did some fundraising stuff throughout these years. I mean, 3 years. We raised some funds. We even established a foundation like an NGO in Armenia, and we even
Nice.
had an office in Armenia, in Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. So, and then we also registered, applied for registration of that foundation in the UN Economic and Social Council database, NGO database, and we got accepted into it. So we can be searched and found as a network state Pan-Armenian foundation in the UN database. I think that was a achievement as well in terms of like communicating with other NGOs. For example, we wanted to communicate to reach out to indigenous NGOs like in the US, in Canada, and in the Western Hemisphere. We were super interested in and we saw that there are a lot of organizations like that in the UN. So
So
basically, this
I
is
have a
what we
question
had.
for
But
you.
we also failed. We also failed. Those are achievements, but we also failed to sustain perpetual funding. I think this was something like a failure because we even ran a $1 per Armenian campaign and it failed. Like basically, kind of trying to raise funds from all Armenians, like $1 per month or whatever, and it failed. And what we have now is that, as I say, we pivoted like to a more global thing because I personally realized, and the board also of the Pan-Armenian network state realized that the nation itself is not ready for such a big infrastructure to be built, and most importantly, and this is I always repeat this, we have never been linked to any Armenian political institution, and we will never be
Mm.
like Armenian parties, political or Armenian government or whatever. And we are very harsh. I mean, we criticize them harshly because we think that they have failed totally. And this is very important as well because we are non-partisan and non-religious. This is super important because we are talking about a Christian nation, that the first nation that adopted Christianity as a state religion, but we are non-religious because we wanted to be as inclusive as possible. We also have a lot of Armenians in Turkey, like hidden Armenians, and who we also wanted to reach out to. So basically, this is an ongoing process. I mean, so I cannot say that it is a dead project like it is dead, but I can say that we pivoted. Now we are um, kind of doing it a global experiment, and I truly think that if the network set ecosystem succeeds, then the Pan-Armenian network set will be born. I mean, in a more robust way. And that applies also to other ethnic network states, like I mean Belarus network state. I don't know, Irish, even Basque. There is a Basque network state.
Is
Uh,
there? Okay.
yeah, so this type of and also I mean other networks said, but the key to success, in my opinion, is the networks and ecosystem to be born. Like we need an environment for the to cultivate the network state.
And if I was Armenian and I joined the network state, I get put in the database. What benefits can I expect to get from signing up for the network state?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. A lot of Armenians would come with different offers, projects, I mean proposals. So basically, the key is that communication with other people, that you would find a lot of other interesting people that you can reach out to. You can do business, and we have had some successful examples of that, like people getting together and running business, or doing some cultural things together, or people finding each other. Actually, that was a wow thing. Actually, like I mean, people. For example, we found via this network state, Panarmenian network state, that there is a association of Armenian cultural. Experts in Austria. I mean, in Austria, we hardly have a big Armenian community, but we found out that there is so people got connected with each other there. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is that, of course, you, as a non-Armenian, actually, I mean, not only Armenian, non-Armenian, you can also get used, I mean, use the Armenian resource. For example, you need, so you're based in Mexico and you want to do something in Argentina, like a business investment or whatever. There are more than 100,000 Armenians living in Argentina, and we have some Argentine Armenian
Really?
networks.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, within the network state, or through the network state, you can definitely, I mean, get into Argentina. So those are the things that can be beneficial, but still, as I say, we failed to sustain funds, and that's why we closed the office in Armenia. And actually, I left Armenia. Now I'm based in Munich, Germany. Um, uh, but I still think that the Pan-Armenian network state will be one of the most successful network states if the ecosystem succeeds, because I think that the sense of belonging is a key to success. People, in the end of the day, will come and try to understand why we are together, who we are to be together. That sense of belonging, that glue that keeps people together. So the ethnic belonging is, I think, one of the highest level, because it has been tested for thousands of years. So you don't need to test it again. I mean, Armenians were living together, though they know that they are Armenians, and the same applies to Jewish, the same applies to Greeks, the same applies to Irish. So they know that they are of the same ethnic background, so that you don't need to tell them that you are Irish, so you can get together. So they automatically do it. So that's how I see a big potential within the Armenian network set, and especially Armenian diaspora is one of the most organized ones in the world if we compare it with other diasporas. So that is why I see a big potential. But again, as I said, the key to it is the network set ecosystem to be born in order to for these plants to survive in that new ecosystem.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by BitRefill. BitRefill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. So what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non-technical roles. So no, it's not just for the nerds. So if you're ready to job stack, then book a discovery call with Job Stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of Job Stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible. Okay. And what would make it successful? Is it about number of people joining, or is it raising money, or what would actually make this successful?
I think influencing the decision making process, and not only Armenian world but global decision making process. This is the measures success metrics that I see, because when you see people joining, yeah, I mean people will come with euphoria, and many Armenians came by the way with euphoria, and then they left because they realized that it's a hard work. So you need to work hard. It's not like just like I mean you come, you have some weekly calls, and then you go. So you need to make an effort. So that's the first thing. The second thing is actually building actual infrastructure, like financial infrastructure. And I have always been championing about building a new internet, like I mean, close new digital, like for example Armenian internet, that's it. So that is for Armenians, and there are, by the way, some guys in London that are doing something like this, but not Armenian project. It's like a British project or something like something to be out of the digital surveillance, if we call it that way, which is of course a difficult thing. But I know some people who have been championing, and I know some who are working on this type of project. I still think that that is important if you want to be a figure, important figure in the decision making process. Because if you build establish yourself on Telegram or on Slack or wherever, so you can be banned, I mean, very easily at some point. So it's very easy, I mean, to delete your profile or whatever. So this is super interesting and important to actually address. And most people don't get it, unfortunately, but I still insist on this. This is super important. If we talk about high level politics, because I am interested in this high level politics. I mean, in the end goal, and maybe I will not see it. Maybe next generations will see it, because we are talking about a new social innovation in the world, like a nation state and now network state. But this is super important, because if you kind of build your network site on Telegram or on Slack or whatever, the guys see what you talk about. The guys see who you, so your database is their database, because your database is your kind of wealth, because that's how you make policy. If you don't have information, if your information is not is open, then I don't know how you're going. I mean, to deal with these big guys who are against network state. So this is super important to understand. So that is why when you ask, I mean, the metrics, I would say there's infrastructure. First of all, decision making, influencing the decision making on the decision making process, and second is the infrastructure build up, which includes the network, say the internet, which is not linked to the internet infrastructure that we have now, and also financial infrastructure, maybe uh, different blockchain or maybe something new. So those are means. I mean, the end goal is actually that. That kind of a new establishment which influences in international relations. This is in my opinion the most important thing, like the end goal, because if we come build, I mean, intentional communities, private cities, but then
Mhm.
one military I mean division comes and takes us out, I mean kicks us out, I mean I don't see any, I mean
And what would that look like? You want like an observer seat at the UN or something?
what do you say, sorry?
You want like a observer seat at the UN, or how are you gonna? You wanna get invited to Davos, or how are you gonna
Actually,
impact
actually,
decisions?
not necessarily. I think that can be. I mean, um, So for you to get, I mean, how I see the network state for me is like the humidity that you can feel, but you can never protect from. I mean, and I'm talking about the evil guys who cannot protect from the network state, because it's not like a rain that you can protect via umbrella, but it's like a humidity. So I feel that the network state must be that. So you are everywhere, and you take part in the decision making process, so that the nation states who are fighting each other, and no one knows for what reasons, killing people each other, so they cannot do that. I mean, they cannot do child trafficking, they cannot do this, so they fail to stop all these things. And then when the network state comes, and the network state is everywhere, so and you stop them from doing this, so you don't need actually to be in the United Nations. So maybe you will create a network state organization, and then this nation state come and get a seat there. So like a parallel institutional infrastructure, if we call it that way,
Yeah.
which that's why I say maybe we will not see it. Maybe the next generation will see it. But this is a very long term thing. But still, if
So
you talk
basically,
about
like
politics, it
collecting the, I guess if I had to summarize, it's like a network state could be collecting big groups of people that can essentially be like lobbyist groups or voting blocks, and then having them influence decisions at an international scale beyond their representation by a nation state.
not only that, also, I mean, the network state people being also within the nation state decision makers groups. Like, I mean, you have, if you compare it with religion, right? I mean, for example, you have your followers in the government. Like, for example, you have an American government, you have 10 guys who are in the cabinet, or in Russian government, you have 5 guys who are in the cabinet,
Uh,
government cabinet. So they influence in the decision making. This is how I see to kind of stop the decadence of the world politics that we are seeing now, because we are on the brink of the third world war, or maybe it has already started in a hybrid way. So if we, as a fourth establishment people, don't uh, take this seriously enough, and don't kind of accept that this is a serious responsibility and political innovation, if we call it that way, then of course, I mean, we can get into online meetings, we can have online communities, etc., etc. But then in the end of the day, they will not make an impact on, for example, Russia-Ukraine war. They will not make an impact on U.S.-China conflict, the Middle East conflict. So this is what I am saying, or child trafficking, or narco traffic, or whatever. So this is very important to understand. If we want to play big, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to play big now. You need at least to have that vision that in
yeah.
100 years I want to play big. So this is the
I
most
didn't I didn't
important thing.
realize it was so politically oriented in that sense, where it's like really just sounds like a like very lobbying heavy.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it is, as of now, it is not. But that's what I want. I mean, like all network state movements, like organizations that work on this, be focused on making a big political change globally.
Hmm.
Because in the end of the day, I mean, as I say, I mean, you build something, and then they come and crash it, so you cannot do anything. So you need power. You need power, and power is about, I mean, first of all, smelling politics, understanding what it is about. So this is one of the most important things. So if I admire all these projects. I mean, people getting together, but what I dislike, and I would change, is that we need to have that big scale vision, that we come to change the establishment, the global establishment, because in the end of the day, I consider ourselves a fourth establishment. So we kind of come to build that fourth establishment, a parallel establishment to the three establishments that we have now. And this fourth establishment must take part in decision making process so that those three establishments cannot play havoc with people globally and especially with the people in the fourth establishment. So if this, I mean, wording game was clear enough, or maybe I can explain clearer.
No, no, that's cool. Switching gears, I'd love to hear about how the Network State Conference went in Singapore. Was it your first time in Singapore?
Definitely it was, and I really got impressed with the amount of people who are in the fourth establishment. I really got impressed. I mean, people with crazy ideas, really amazing, crazy ideas, who wanted to do something to change the world, to get a better place to live in. And that was the main momentum of the conference, in my opinion. Like, I mean, meeting a lot of amazing people from New Zealand and Australia to Canada and Europe and Africa. So I think that was the most amazing thing. As I said, I also sent my personal feedback to Balaji, like on the political component that was apparently missing, because what I do not want the network state to be is a tech environment. I don't want the network state ecosystem be a tech environment. And in Singapore, I saw that it is inclined to be, which I don't like. I dislike it because network state is first of all a social innovation. It's a
Hmm.
social innovation. Tech is a means, it's not an end. So that what I would work on to improve definitely. Overall, I with the Locky team, I interviewed some 15, 16 people actually during the conference, and the interviews will be out soon. And I found a lot of amazing projects and people working on crazy ideas. So I can say that these conferences must continue. These meetups, especially tete-a-tete physical meetups, must continue because that's important for kind of fortifying the ecosystem, the people getting together, that sense of belonging, that we belong to the same ecosystem. But still, as I say, what I saw that was missing in Singapore or needed to improve, to get improved, was that political, socio-political component. So we need to address the social political things, issues more within the network state conferences and meetings. This is the most important thing in my opinion, because the network state is not about technology.
Cool. How many people were there at the conference?
I wod say that, of course, there were more than 1,000, maybe between
Wow.
1,000, 2,000. I mean, 1,500 or something. I haven't got the numbers. I don't know, but quite amount. Quite amount. And yeah, as I said, it was organized pretty well in terms of organizational stuff and everything. It was really good. I really liked it, and Singapore was a good place to organize such a thing in terms of organizational matters. But again, coming to the socio-political thing, Singapore is not the place to run such a conference because Singapore is a
No.
very nation state. I mean, establishment
Yeah.
like an authoritarian level nation state. So you hardly can innovate something from there. So these are things that are very important to consider. I mean, because symbols in politics are very important as well. I mean, where you give the symbol. I mean, where you give the symbol from. And Singapore cannot actually act something like that. But I admire Singapore, and I have a lot of Singaporean friends. But Singapore definitely is not the place to start a big innovation, socio-political innovation. Yeah, and still I can say that my target group would be, um, of course, I mean, we are talking about Asia, China, India, Latin America, but the Western world, the huge amount of people in the West, I mean, Europe and USA, Canada, in the middle class especially, who long for change. And these people are the potential candidates for the fourth establishment that we call. And so my target would be those people.
Interesting. Um, Anything else from the conference? I just kind of want to hear about it a little bit more. I know there was a talk with Peter Levels, levels.io. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he had like a fireside chat with Balaji, which got posted to X. So that was a cool one. I'm sure there was lots more. Did you get it? Were you on any of the panels or anything, or just a attendee?
No, I was just attending the conference. So yeah, I am trying to kind of recall the most interesting parts. Actually, yeah. Well, the talks were interesting. I mean, some wow. I mean, thesis. So we could hear some wow thesis during the conference. I mean, the speakers would share some amazing stuff. But still, um, in my opinion, what I was focused on, I mean, was, I mean, like, to discover as many people as possible. I mean, that's how, I mean, I was more interested in not just, I mean, what people say on the stage, but what people are doing out of the stage. I mean, like, outside the stage, and I discovered, as I said, amazing people with really abnormal, in a positive sense, abnormal project. And I can say that was the most interesting part of the conference. The and if I recall, some like trying to kind of the talks, for example, the prospera talk was kind of interesting because when the guys were delivering the talk about prospera, then we got the news about prospera having problems with the Honduras government.
Yeah.
So that was something interesting. Yes, this is what I'm saying. I mean, you see, so you go, you kind of invest, you work hard, you put energy, effort, and then in the end of the day, I mean, when they see a nation state with power, with legal power, and most important, with hard power, when they see that they don't need you anymore, or you start bothering them, they can come and say, okay, so time to leave. So this is how I see politics. And and This is how I want others to see politics. It's not like I'm in the world, looking into the world with rose glasses. No, I mean, you need to see the politics the way it is. So there are evil guys and there are good guys. So you need to be ready to face the evil guys as well, and that's about power. I mean, if you don't have that power, and you can never build that fourth establishment. And um, and the nation states were also built, I mean, this way.
Hmm.
And the empires were also built this way. The city states, I mean, in Greece were also built this way. I mean, if they didn't
Hmm.
have power, they couldn't survive. I mean, if you don't have power, you at least need to get alliances, etc. So anyway, I mean, this is the human nature. So you cannot escape from the human nature, whatever way you want to do. Or you are not going to invent a new bicycle. So this is a human historical cycle, evolutionary development. You cannot do anything. So that's why I want the network status to understand that politics is harsh and it's about power. So, and power is not like just shooting at each other or having a nuclear bomb, but also power. I mean, having followers everywhere. I mean, who believe in your ideas and who believe in your projects. So this is one of the most important things. in politics, and that's how I see the fourth establishment getting critical mass. And I always say that in order to take part in decision making, in order to get critical mass, we need a very aggressive marketing campaign, and marketing campaign should be even shooting movies about network states. I mean, about the fourth establishment, because you cannot, I mean, just write down some books or write down some papers or articles. I wrote maybe 100 plus articles on these topics or whatever, right? Politics, I mean, network state, how the society should work. But it doesn't affect that much because a lot of people write about it. You need to reach not only to people's brains, but also people's hearts, so that subconscious level. So people believe in you, like feel emotional attachment to you. And there are a lot of artists, there are a lot of people on earth who want the fourth establishment, but they don't know whether it exists or not. So I don't want the network state movement be like the crypto guys getting together, talking and saying, "Wow, how clever we are! Wow, what big things we do!" And then in the end of the day, you go home and you see that Iran and Israel have started war, and now the U.S. is bombing Iran, and then China enters, etc. So, and then you cannot do anything. So you're done. So I don't want the network state developed this way as an ecosystem. I want the network state developed the way so that you go and see the news that there is a new establishment that I don't know, maybe in a sacred place like in Ararat Valley, for example, Armenia's Ararat Valley, where the Noah landed. I mean, as in Christian Bible, like in Bible, there people get together and start, I mean, talking to each other, like the politicians, the philosophers. So you kind of build a platform where people get together. So I want the network state act that way, and not like, I mean, you are a bystander and you cannot do anything, because we are clever guys, 10,000 people, we understand each other, we are crypto enthusiasts, we are tech moguls or whatever, and so we
Mm,
can live our lives and they can. What about the ordinary people who do not have an access to technology and who cannot escape the war zone, or who cannot escape genocides, escape, I mean, famine or whatever? So the network state as a fourth establishment must address this. Imagine like Jesus coming and telling people that we are 12 people, I mean, these 12 people and me, so we are the cleverest guys, so we are talking to each other and that's it. So, but they entered into every person's life. I mean, they would go and talk to them, right? I mean, that this is important to believe. So this is what I want. I mean, the network state to act. I mean, you need to change ordinary people's lives. This is what the socio-political influence is. Ordinary people's life, and you can change it two ways. I mean, bottom and up, upper level, and you
yeah,
need to do both,
yeah,
bottom and up. That's how I see the network state ecosystem evolving, and maybe this is a very ambitious thing. But if we don't do it, then I mean, there is no need then to work on this type of thing, in my opinion. So
yeah.
that's my opinion, because that becomes another corporate institution. Like we are clever 10,000, 20,000, or whatever people. So let's get together. There are a lot of, I mean, ordinary people who also want to be there. They do not have an access. They do not have technology. They do not have means to get there. We must help them. We must reach out to them. So that's important, and that's why building up a talent bank for the networks is
Mhm.
important. I mean, you need brains who
For sure.
postulate and put forward those ideas forward, and and talk to other people. And as I say, shooting movies. I mean, writing again articles. I mean, building video materials, tutorials, etc. Building up schools like Balaji established a network state school, but we need more and more things like this. So it becomes a worldwide movement.
Yeah. As we kind of get to wrapping up, a couple quick questions about Armenia in general. I haven't been yet. I know it's very popular and promoted by nomad capitalists and people like that. Um, is it pretty crypto friendly, Armenia?
It is, but the problem with Armenia now is that Armenia is facing critical challenge from its neighbors like Azerbaijan and Turkey because of the conflict and because of the genocide past, like I mean, Ottoman Empire, the Armenian genocide, and because of the Azerbaijan aggression against Armenia. So Armenia is facing problem. So the very security is under question. So this is the most important thing. I mean
Mm.
that it's not like, I mean, you go to Armenia, you get shot or whatever. Armenia is one of the safest countries in the world. I mean, you can walk at 4 a.m. and even, I mean, counting your money, and nobody will come and attack you or whatever. It's super safe in that term. But in long term perspective,
Right.
the
I know.
very
It's like
existence,
micro safe, but macro, who knows?
yes, yeah, in long term perspective, it is
Okay.
dangerous because of the imminent Azeri Turkish aggression. There is always like a danger of war, like those countries attacking Armenia. So that's the most vehement challenge. But in general, yeah, I mean, I would definitely advise people at least to visit it. It's super cheap if you compare it, I mean, with I mean other places like, I mean, European countries. It's cheap, and yeah, I mean, there is do very high speed internet, by the way, which, I mean, I'm in Germany. Germany definitely lags behind. In Armenia, internet is way better than in
Mm.
Germany. So definitely, digital nomads can enjoy a lot in Armenia, and also now, like, I mean, a lot of youngsters, especially from the Armenian diaspora, are there. So the English has become more widely spoken, so you can survive with English in Armenia. So there will be no much need to learn Armenian, which is difficult, of course. I mean, for non-native Armenian speakers to learn. In general, yeah, but still, I mean, the country has its pitfalls as well. So I'm an Armenian, but I'm not going, I mean, to say beautiful, just beautiful things. Of course, there are some pitfalls as well. And the biggest vehement challenge is the long-term security. So, for example, if you want to build your life there, like, I mean, for 50 years, I mean, having kids or whatever there, so you must, I mean, also consider that thing. I mean, especially now when the region has become a very, I mean, hot war zone. Like, I mean, Iran and Israel. I'm 99% sure they are going to fight a war, direct war. But anyway, let's see. So that will affect Armenia. So that's what I'm saying, because we are a neighbor to Iran, and also the
Yeah, that
Azeri
too. Shit.
Turkish.
What do you live in Armenia now, or where are you based?
No, now I'm in Munich, but well, I mean, I lived in Armenia for all my life. So
Uh huh.
my parents live there now, so my relatives live there. So I'm an everyday touch with Armenia, and also I have connections with political establishment there, which uh, unfortunately also do not understand the dangers that Armenia is going to face. Actually, in the most part of the world, most politicians have stopped understanding the dangers, the big dangers long term. But anyway, I mean, yeah. But if anyone would like, I mean, to go to Armenia to establish themselves, I would be very happy to help with.
Very cool. Very cool. So Varm, as we get to wrapping up, how can people get involved? How can people join the network state, or reach out to you? And I guess share any final message that you'd like with the audience.
Sure. So on our website, networkstate.io, there is a form called Join. So there is an application form. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, I mean, people write down a bit about themselves, who they are,
Hmm.
and then they can join. Definitely, we verify that this is a real people and not, like, I mean, scam or whatever. So that's the thing. I am pretty open to chat with anyone. I can be found on LinkedIn, like my name,
Hmm.
surname, Vara Maivazian, on Twitter, X. And yeah, my email also is very easy to reach out to. My name, surname, varam.ivajan at networkstate.io. It's very easy. I mean, to reach out to me, like my name dot surname at networkstate.io. So people can definitely reach out to, and also my Telegram. Also, I mean, like at Varam Ivajan, so they can reach out to.
Awesome. Well, Varam, thank you for doing this. Thank you for joining us and telling us a little bit more about the Pan-Armenian network state. And for the audience, if you enjoyed this episode, you might also enjoy some of our other episodes with free cities and ZETs and free trade zones and all that type of stuff. So we have episodes with the team from Morazan, from Prospera, so many more. So check out the back catalog of the My Latin Life podcast and be sure to subscribe as well. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Varam, and all the podcasts are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, X, and all your favorite podcast players. And that's it for now. This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Ciao for now. Hey guys, quick note at the end of the episode here. If you made it this far, you might be interested in working with My Latin Life personally to make progress on your internationalization plan. So whether the next step for you is getting residency in Latin America, lowering your taxes, choosing the best country, maybe a little birth tourism, whatever the next step is for you, of course, My Latin Life can help. We've helped people in their 20s, their 40s, their 60s, because I truly believe that Latin America has something to offer people at every stage of life. So if you want to become our VIP client, if you want to work with Vance, myself directly, book a call. There will be a link in the description. There will be a small fee for the initial consultation, and we do that to filter out the time wasters and focus on the best of the best clients. But if you're listening to this podcast and you made it all the way through the episode, I know you're the best of the best. But we're ready to work with you. So book that call. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the My Latin Life podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.